Hello, everyone. So, this is my message and my video for the new moon in Cancer that we are currently still in the energy of. It's taking place right now. And so, while it's rather late or early for some of you, I'm in California, so right now it's 11:30 p.m. So, I just really felt the energy to do this video, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to put it out. So, anyhow, the messages that were coming to me about this particular new moon phase was definitely concentrating on, since we're in Cancer, was definitely concentrating on reconnecting to our ancestors, reconnecting to the spiritual beliefs that they um, practice, having a deeper understanding as to why they did what they did and how it leads up to where we are right now, and reconnecting or having a better connection to our spiritual guides. Our spiritual guides, whether they be of different astral planes or whether they are physically here with us. Some would call them elders or masters, or masters in the sense of masters of their trade, or just people that we connect with who are very experienced in something, who can teach us something from their lived experiences, and they become our guides in this life. So just a reconnecting of all of that and a strengthening of it, because a lot of us have already reconnected, but we need to strengthen our connections because it's something that constantly needs to be worked at. It's renovation season for a lot of us, and for a lot of us it's literally you've never connected before and you're feeling this energy and you're like, how do I connect without being used or abused or put in a situation where I am totally in the dark and it's a dangerous situation because I don't know what I'm doing. But I know I need to somehow pursue this, but I don't know how to go about it. So it's all those types of reconnections. But starting with your intuition, starting with that reconnection with your intuition and the strengthening of your intuition, because that's the I, that's your identity, that's who you are, that's the spirit that dwells within you. You have your own individual spirit. Now, we can have spirits come upon us. That's how one person can have multiple spirits, but we all have that I spirit, that one that is us and who we are, that is a piece of the whole. Okay, and the whole always reconnects us, and we always it represents a continuous flow, the affinity essentially, or the ankh. So anyhow, if we're thinking of Kemetic belief systems, all systems have their different names for the same thing. But if we're thinking Kemetic system, we're thinking the Ka and the Ba, the spirit and the soul. So we all have our I, our spirit, that one, and then we have our soul. Two different things, but both are uniquely your own soul that can never be broken, can never be destroyed. It is something that will always continue to exist, just in a forever cycle. Life is a cycle. It's a spiral. You know, can't just think of it as a circle because it's more than 3D, right? So it's a spiral, and you're either spiraling up or you're spiraling down, but you're never staying in one position. And so, with that being said, ancestors, because that's your intuition. And once you connect that and have a deeper understanding of who you are and your identity and what you're truly here to do, then you're connecting with your intuition and you're basically strengthening it, because you're always going back to the one, to the whole, to the point in which it's centered again and it's balanced again, so that okay, I am following the right voice, right? I'm following my true heart, my true desires, my true flow and direction, and what is true to me, because I know who I am, right? So once you've got that balanced out, and once you've got that back and whole, and you strengthen that, you'll start to notice how you can you know when something is your thought and when it's not your thought, when it comes from somewhere else outside of you. You know when you're truly speaking to yourself, or when you're speaking to another entity, whether it's a physical person or a physical being, or whether it's an inanimate object speaking to you through it, or an animal or anything like that. You'll be able to detect what is outside of you and what is coming from you and within you and what is your own. Then that leads you to understanding and knowing, okay, who your ancestors are. Because if you know who you are, you know where you stem from, and you know where your protection comes from, your guidance comes from, your the feeling of love, warmth, and wholeness comes from. You know what's a part of you, okay, because of that connection, that lineage, that blood, which is a part of your ancestors. So it's important to know your ancestors. It's important to know not only your earthly ancestors, or who you come from, you know, like your mom, your dad, grandparents, your great grandparents, all that good stuff. That's of course that's important, but it's more than that, because we're not always born exactly to the same ancestors that we have in the ancestor realm. There is the ancestor realm, and all of our ancestors, no matter who you are, all of our ancestors are in that ancestral realm. But they don't hold the same level of power within that realm. There is our ancestors, and then it is the ancestors. And the ancestors are the ones who basically kind of mete out the jobs, the duties, the responsibilities of those entities, of our ancestors within that realm. So they've been here since the beginning of time, and they're kind of like a council over the ancestral plane. And so with that being said, you know, it's one thing to know who you are linked to through lineage, and it's another thing to know who you are linked through spiritual lineage, because it's a lot. I didn't understand the importance of knowing these things until I started to really get in touch with the I am, and who I am. That's when I really started asking questions to my grandparents, to my parents, about, you know, who are your parents? Where did they come from? What's their story? What do you know of them? You lived with them, you know, you experienced them, you were around them. Who are they? And then when they started to tell me stories of their parents, my grandparents, of their parents and their grandparents, I was like, wow, like it's beautiful to see the similarities. It's beautiful to see where I get certain things from. It's beautiful to see me figuring out, oh, that's why I'm innately good at this, because that's me. But when I was having trouble with this, I received the help, and it felt like it was from an outside force. Like, how did I get that? How was I able to work that out? Or how am I all of a sudden so good at doing this? But I know it's not innately within me, but I know it's something that was kind of like gifted onto me to help me out in that situation. And you know, and that's from knowing, I mean, you know, it just happens. But once you get to know your ancestors from that type of lineage, then you can say, oh, okay, so if I'm in this type of situation, I know I can call on so and so, because they were great at that. They were innately great at that. So I can call on them, and I know they love me. I know they work on my behalf. I know they've been here for me, so they'll imbue me with that power to be able to do this successfully. I mean, that's just a small example of all the things that you can do by knowing who your ancestors are. So, you know, yeah, so intuition, which is the I, the ancestors, which is the next thing. Whoop. I'm sorry, y'all. My computer. I'm loading the other video as I'm also filming this. So, the other video, and I still have an hour left, 56 minutes left. At first, it was at 2 hours. So, I said after like 30 minutes, I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna sit here and just watch this. I'm gonna make another video and call it a day. I have this energy to do it, so I'm gonna do it while that's loading. So, anyhow, but yeah, so after the intuition, in connection with self and connecting with your ancestors, they will reveal. It'll get so strong to the point where you can call them in and hear their response, like literally hear their response. That's how strong it can get, once you get that connection strengthened. And so another thing that comes with it is, I'm trying to make sure I stay on point. Of course, and the reason why I'm going in this particular order is because we have to know this order. Like, we know we have the Most High, okay? In many of our traditions, our ancient traditions, there's always the Most High. Most High doesn't come down here and deal with our little dealings of human dealings. But the Most High has a mission, has a plan for you that you chose, okay, before you came here. And, it was million out missions. You chose it. All right, here you go. Enjoy, have fun. That's why life is supposed to be a joy. Even in the pain, you're still supposed to be able to find joy because this is not it, right? This is not the only thing that will ever happen to you. It goes on. Even after death, there's a transition into another life. And I'm not talking about reincarnation, even though that's that does happen. Reincarnation does happen. But I'm not even talking about that. Just after our death, physical death here on this plane, there is something afterward. So any case, we need to know that the Most High gets all the glory, all the honor, all the praise, the highest praise. And then, you are your own power source, your Ori, your I, that's your own power source. And that is what Christians call the breath of God within you. That's the Spirit of God within you. That's, you come from the Most High. So with that being said, that's the next thing in line, even before your ancestors, and then after that is your ancestors. And then after that are all the spiritual guides, the spiritual entities that are even underneath your ancestors. And I love to use the story of Eshu. He has plenty of stories, right? Eshu is a spiritual entity. It is an Orisha. Some people will call Orishas angels, whatever you want to call them. They're basically not the Most High, but they are, entities that have powers, that have strength and certain abilities and gifts and things that we can tap into. So, and Eshu definitely made the point in one of his patakis, his stories, definitely made that point that, even they come before me, even though I eat first, Eshu eats first. But even before Eshu can eat, the ancestors need to eat. So we give praise in that order. We give praise to the Most High. Then we give praise to ourselves because we are a part of the Most High. And then we give praise to our ancestors because we are the ones upon whose shoulders we stand upon, right? And then we give praise to our spiritual entities that work with us and on our behalf. So when you get that understanding and you get that, and you fully comprehend all those levels of who we are and why we're here in our existence and our power source, then you'll start to understand and start to see things work out. how they're supposed to work out. That's what the new moon in Cancer is amplifying us to reflect upon and to get a knowing of it, and to really tap in with our intuition and really tap in so that we can start being led without having to have all this crazy stuff happen because we didn't hear, because we weren't tapped in. Because they're always talking whether we tap in or not. They're always trying to contact us and trying to warn us, trying to protect us, trying to guide us. Always. So, it's really interesting because, well, before I get into the books, I have this book that I just got done reading, like just in the nick of time of a new moon in Cancer. I got done reading Walk Two Moons by Sharon Creech. Yeah, Sharon Creech. You see it's tattered. I got it secondhand. Somebody recommended it to me, gave it to me. And so it's been through some stuff, but hey, the pages are still good. So I was able to read through it without any problems. And I recommend, you read it, no matter the age. It's a scholastic book, so of course it's written for a younger audience, but adults can enjoy it as well. And the back says, it's also a winner of a John Newbery Medal, anyways, in 1995. So, yeah. 13-year-old Salamanica Tree Heidel, known as Sal, is traveling from Ohio to Idaho with her grandparents in search of her mother. Along the way, she tells them the story of Phoebe Winterbottom, who received mysterious messages, met a potential lunatic, and whose mother disappeared. Beneath Phoebe's story is Sal's story and that of her mother, who left one day for Idaho and has not yet returned. Sal has less than a week to get to Idaho in time for her mother's birthday and to bring her back. Despite her father's warning that she is fishing in the air, Sal knows this journey is the only chance she has for returning and reuniting her family. So it's one of those beautifully written, because the end really catches you off guard. It's like one of those Sixth Sense type, endings where you're going with like, wait, what? The whole time? The whole time? I'm not gonna tell y'all what it was, but it really was like that. It caught me. It caught me. And I was like, dang. But I felt her through the whole book. Was this really starting to appreciate your mother, and her mother's quest to reconnect with her family, to go back home, because she wasn't from Ohio, she was from Idaho, and she was a native woman. It didn't say. I don't think it said what tribe she was from or what nation she was from, but she was a native woman, and so she wanted to go back home to Idaho because she felt like stuff happened, to make her feel a certain type of way. So that's when she left, and so she never came back. And her and Salamander, her daughter Sal, was just like, I gotta go. I gotta go back to my mom and get her and bring her back home because I miss her. I miss my mom. But in that time of her waiting for this trip to happen, or basically before the trip happens with her grandparents, she, has this experience with Phoebe Winterbottom, who basically is a girl in her class. And her mom, runs off somewhere, and her mom comes back though. And it was a weird, welcoming home, because there was some introduction of guests, but it was needed. Like, she needed to see that the need to deal with reality, the need to deal with your past and the things that you've done in the past, as well as the need to be amongst people who understand, and to be back home. Sometimes we have to return home in order to leave again, but to leave as a new person, to leave as a evolved person. So anyways, it was a great book. I just wanted to mention it within this because it was just so interesting, the timing of it all. So with that being said, I also want to say a way when you are trying to connect back with the ancestors and you are wanting to get to know who your ancestors are, the first is to do the work in the physical, which is to do the research. Speak to the people you need to speak to. If they're not living, then you need to find people who were living and were friends or family around them, what have you, to get those stories, to get that understanding, so you know when they are communicating with you, it's a sure sign because you've already had some type of connection of a story to fill in. Oh, that's that spirit that, and it's been talking to you. You notice it. You're like, what is this? And you don't want to connect with the wrong spirits. It's one of those things where no spirit by spirit. So you're gonna know, you know, whether it's something good for you or not. But before you do any type of spiritual work or before you go into any type of meditation, you need to clear your space, cleanse it, and then create a barrier or create a boundary protection around you. And you can do that however you feel led to do it. Use your intuition. It's very important to start practicing that. And what are you led to do? People who are here are simply giving you advice and tips to get you started. But once you get started, you know exactly what works for you. For me, I like sage. I like my sage. There's different types of sage. This one's all pretty much used up, but yes. I like my sage to cleanse as well as for protection. And also I use Palo Santo. Right? I don't really use this too much unless I'm working in certain types of work that needs to be done. Usually with someone who's from the places where Palo Santo is native to. So like Central South America type clients or situations in my life in which I need to connect with those ancestors. So don't burn this too much. I still have this one that I've had for like 2 years. So I use more sage. Sage native to California, and sometimes I get international sage for other reasons. So I always say shop local. So if you're in a region and they have a particular type of sage, use that sage, right? But you can use any sage, but try to shop local when you're doing local business, local work. Also, always have some Florida water on handy. They sell them at Walgreens, Rite Aid. That's how easy and accessible Florida water is. Yeah. Walgreens, Rite Aid, those type of places are like a witch's best friend. Also, sage incense of any kind, myrrh, frankincense, any kind. And of course, you can use your stones of protection. Dark stones are usually the best. This one is a snowflake obsidian. And then there's, other types of obsidian or onyx or tourmaline or whatever, are great for protection. As well as other stones. Those are not the only ones. I'm just naming them off. So yeah, have that with you. Even if you don't have that with you, some people are powerful enough. Most people are powerful enough. They don't need any of this. It's just tools. That's all. Just tools. And with that being said, I'm going to pause the video and come back with a quick reading for this new moon in Cancer. What messages does, our ancestors have for us? And what are the messages from the moon to each zodiac sign? One card pull for each, unless Spirit says otherwise. Also, I'm going to refill my coffee because I need some. And I need to put on another incense so that I can be burning while I'm doing this. Also do a special prayer that I will not do on camera. because that's between me, the Most High, and all my spirit guides, and of course, Eshu. And that's the main reason why I need to get some more coffee. We like to sip together. Anyhow, and that also reminds me of in knowing who your spirit guides are, they will introduce themselves to you straight up. They'll introduce themselves to you. Um, uh, she's been walking with me for a very long time. I just didn't know until I asked to be introduced to who has walked with me for a very long time. And she introduced herself in a dream because that's how I speak with spirit. I speak in anywhere, anytime, but that's my power zone is through my dreams. That's why I have to be very careful about what I allow around me during my sleep hours, as well as making sure I'm protected during sleep. So I have a lot of amethyst around me when I sleep, as well as other stones. So anyhow, Mama Bridget, she is amazing. She's amazing. And she has walked with me a long time. She introduced herself to me in a dream, and she kicks ass. Baron Sumeri, he's actually saved me from death twice. 2 times I was supposed to be dead, straight up, and both times I knew it was like, well, there's no mistaking it. Somebody was there for me, and so with that, a lot of that helped me understand certain parts of my astrology a lot better. Especially I have Scorpio, I have Pluto in Scorpio. That's a generational planet, right? Everybody who was born in a certain time frame for me has Pluto in Scorpio. But we all don't have the same houses, house placements with our planets and with our signs. So there's very few of us who have Pluto in Scorpio in our 8th house. And I'm one of them. And at first I was like, what is that? That's a hard one to decipher. You get the usual surface level stuff because most people don't even know really how to interpret that, right along with Pisces. But you can have astrology, which is the science of it all, but you got to make sure you put that spirit with it. If you don't have that spirit with it, you're missing a piece. Just like if you have all spirit, but you don't have no science to it, you're missing a piece. It needs to be both together. And so, Aquarius, I already said my other parts of my chart. I have a lot of Aquarius, I have a lot of Neptune, I have that really, really strong Pluto influence by being in Scorpio and being in my 8th house. I have a really strong connection with the ancestors because of that, as well as other things. But that's a real important reason as to why I have that stronger connection, as well as why I am not afraid of death. And I have some people would think cold feelings when people die. I don't really show too much emotion, or I don't show it the way people feel like I should show it. I mean, I do feel, but I don't feel the same way because I understand. I understand what death is. Straight up connection to it. And so it just doesn't affect me the same way. So when I was younger, I wanted to know when I would die, and I was told, because when you're younger and you're as in tune as I was at that age, we're all, like I said, spiritual, psychic beings, so we all have that connection. But for me, it was extremely strong, and I know a lot of you out there is the same way. And so I asked, and I got the number. I know exactly the the age that I am going to pass. I don't know what month, I don't know what day, I don't care. Um, but when I got the information at that young age, I was 8 when I got the information. I was like, oh, I just got done reading about Solomon and his story, and I was like, well, I got that connection with God. Like, I can ask, and he'll tell me the answer. That's just how I thought of it at that time, and that's exactly what happened. Gave me the answer, um, and I was like, that's not enough. That's not enough time. Like, that's not enough. I was so upset. I thought I could handle it. I was mad. I was like, that's, I mean, I guess it's okay, but I don't know, like that seems short to me. And so, but now at this age of 29 years old, I'm looking back on it. I reflected on that time, on that age that was given to me of when I would leave, when I would transition this earth. And I'm like, damn, I didn't know when I was younger, but I'm so glad. I don't want to live until I'm 150 like I wanted to. I'm like, Lord, how long is it going to take? Okay, this is, okay, good. All right, because 2 more decades, more than that, I would be hot. I would be mad. These people get on my nerves. But no, you understand why you just need to get what you need to get done in the time that you have it allotted to you to get done. Don't worry about when you're gonna go. Don't worry about when your time is up, or oh my God, I'm gonna die. The doctor said I'm gonna die at this, with this, whatever. It don't matter. It doesn't matter. Are you doing what you're supposed to do while you're here? And some of us are meant to pass at what some people call untimely deaths or whatever, for a reason beyond what their living lives, we think their living lives would contribute to society. They actually do more in their death than they do in this life. They were only meant here to come here for that short period of time, just so they could have that type of influence on the living, so that they could do more work in the afterlife. Whole nother story. I'm not about to get into it because I'm going to do the reading. So I'm going to stop this right here and I'll come back to you in a second.